to speak about?
I did have some. The girls' true team went to state this weekend and took 6th place. And Ashlyn Wolf broke a school record. Ashlyn Wolf broke a school record. I don't remember which. 400. And I think they had a lot of success there. I went through the list, and a lot of the girls did very well. So I think that's a very good representation of our school. So congratulations to them. The metal sculptures are now out in Mankato. So we have a couple of those in the sculpture walk. If you're around there, go check those out. And then the other one I had was Eric Dashner ended up in the top 60 at Nationals for speech. So congratulations to Eric.
And then I don't know, last time did we mention state speech, that we had 9? Did we talk about that?
Yes.
Okay, my days get mixed up. One thing that I have is that Irene Bloom and Erin Sheehan was inducted to the Academic and Fine Arts Hall of Fame. So that is awesome. And also back with the NITOC, the National Individual Events Tournament of Champions. Eric did qualify in the top 60, but Allie Hanks also went and was able to compete there as well. So, and I think they had a really good time. I came back with allergies, but.
FFA had their banquet yesterday, and I can't remember names, but they had quite a few awards that were given out for the FFA members that went to state conferences and competed and won some pretty good events. So.
I have one from the Minnesota Association of School Business Offices that we're pleased to inform you that Wendy Diker has completed the MASBO volunteer certification program. This program consists of 11 3-hour courses in all areas of school business, plus additional credit hours of learning from other MASBO program and events. So congratulations, Wendy.
11 3-hour courses I've had to take in quite a bit. Anybody else have any other positive recognition?
We talked about the girls and boys winning the conference meet. That probably would have been after.
That would have been
But
after
yeah.
last meeting. Yep.
True.
And that has not
Yep.
happened.
No.
Ever. Both of them. And it's 6 times for the girls.
That is awesome. That was fun to be at, too.
Yeah, it was.
Anything else? Okay, I will move on to the resolution of accepting donations. We do have a donation from the American Red Cross for $2,500 for the blood drive scholarship. So do I have a motion to approve the resolution accepting donations with many thanks?
So moved.
Motion by Laura Size. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joni Olson.
Joni,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
and Sherry.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. On to reports and presentations. Student representatives report. Turn your mic on.
Sorry. There we are. Echoing what you guys said about our girls' true team state, but more on the people who set it up. Heard nothing but positive things from the girl. I read up with them, and they just nothing but good things to say about it, and they got 6th. And then, double conference championships. I don't know what the tally is for the year that we're up to. Is it 7, 6?
6 or 7.
It's impressive just in this year alone. And then with all the banquets that are starting to go, it's just really reminding me how impressive my class and this school is, that the things we accomplished I didn't even know about. Like, you're like, oh, they got that award. I didn't even know. And it's just a pleasant surprise all around. Was boys baseball supposed to have their first playoff game, but it was delayed?
No, first softball one is tomorrow, first baseball is Wednesday, and then subsections track is Thursday.
Yep, so into the playoff and subsections, people are hoping big for it because we've got some really talented teams. Although I don't know if our baseball team is terribly excited from what I've heard.
Corey's excited.
Corey is excited. But yeah, they're excited to play, they're excited to compete, and they're gonna have fun.
Any questions for Ethan? Are you ready for Friday?
Yeah. Yeah, he's ready.
Wait, no, I'm supposed to be like sad about it. Aren't I?
You
I
have
don't know
your-
that you're supposed to be sad, it's the parents that are
Yes.
sad about it.
I'm not sad either.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You could pretend, come on.
It's a bit overwhelming.
And your senior trip is
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yep, headed up to the Mall of America.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, I guess senior skip day was today. I can tell you guys now.
Naughty,
It
naughty.
wasn't a huge secret, sorry.
Yeah.
What? You guys are kidding.
You didn't participate, did you?
Oh, of course not.
Good.
I didn't swear in, did I?
All righty. We will move on to the superintendent report.
It's crazy busy, we know that this time of year, so it's hectic getting ready for graduation this week. This year, we will have American Sign Language interpreter on stage with us to help out with a few, or help out some families. Then staff meetings and wrapping up things and plans going forward are being made. So like we were talking with Ethan, sections for spring sports are starting this week. True Team's already been talked about, so that's been great. We did apply for a grant through SRSA,
Small Rural Schools Achievement
so.
Federal Program.
And then Wendy's continuing to work through the budget for future years. Community Ed, our SAC program is full. Currently, we have 90 students signed up for summer SAC. That's 25 more than what we had last year. And then all summer programs have met their minimum students, so we'll be running all of our summer programs. Mike and the custodians are getting all of the stuff set up with all of the different events happening at the end of the year. The biggest one is deciding where we're gonna have graduation ceremony, whether it's on the field or in the high school gym. Hopefully, we can have it out on the football field. And then we have a choir concert tonight, and then we have academic DARE banquet, and DARE graduation on Wednesday. Q-Comp final meetings are in the works, so that's a good thing. And then we're piloting a new reading curriculum for next year, and we'll decide on that in the next 2 weeks also. Adam took one of the cameras that was used for meetings in here, we were no longer using it, and has set it up for streaming in the auditorium, so we don't have to put a camera up every time it's there. And he's ramping up for the new Chromebooks and collecting the old Chromebooks as we move forward. Next fall, we're gonna have a flu vaccine clinic here for students. It'll be ran a lot like our dental clinic. And then the new CPR station that we got a grant for, that's going well. Lots of people have been volunteered to get certified, including students. So that's been wonderful. They've made some changes on having highly qualified paraprofessionals the past couple of years. So that situation is in flux, but Jeff Wagner, our Director of Special Education, is working with the principals to create our own evaluation and have record in case of an audit. And then for me, it's just, I'm looking forward to graduation on Friday night and waiting for the legislation to make their final decisions on what's going on.
Any questions? All right, we will move on to budget information and the treasurer's report.
Wendy?
There's nothing outstanding here. Just our cash balance is kind of following the trend from previous years. And our enrollment counts, I don't think we had any change on enrollment this month. We lost a couple, I guess.
Okay. Any questions for Wendy? Thank you. On to the committee reports. Certified negotiations.
So we, we had our first meeting last week. Started to review ground rules as far as, how we're gonna meet, respect, truth, so on. But we kept our meeting relatively short as the executive committee asked that we delay. With so many things going on as it relates to the legislature, they wanted more time to be able to see how things shook out with that. And Mr. Earler had talked about the fact that many schools, they don't start negotiations until the fall. We're usually ahead of the pact in that regards. We're usually done by June, and most schools haven't even started by that point. So we agreed to delay. We were supposed to have a meeting this week. We've put that one off, and we don't have a current meeting on our agenda until the executive committee from the union lets us know that they would like to meet again. But we don't anticipate that's going to be until August, September.
Yeah, August sometime.
So not much to report other than we've got ground rules down. We've got ways set up that we're going to share information. Started to talk language as far as language changes. And that's where we stopped. Questions?
So non-certified can expect to not start until probably
Non-certified,
September, October?
We did
Probably?
reach out to the local rep. 70 is new for us, but we did reach out to them and let them know this is where we're at. We're willing to start if his groups would like to. He's gotten back to me telling me that one group wants to wait until we're further along with teachers. I've not heard about the other two groups yet.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
On to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled out of there before we approve it? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Kevin Bourne. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Laura Size. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. On to old business. So this is the final reading. So we will approve the following policies. Policy 624, online instruction, and policy 901, community education. Is there any questions before we move on to the approval? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve policy 624?
So moved.
Motion by Laura Size. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Monica Erickson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Policy 901, community education. Do I have a motion to approve?
A motion.
Motion by Dave Olson. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Joni Olson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. The assistant principal update.
So, Just wanted to go through and give you a quick update. So the assistant principal information is, this would allow, if no longer having a director of teaching and learning, would allow the high school and elementary principal to be in the classrooms more, doing more observing, and serving as our instructional coach for teachers. The assistant principal would be working with the K-12 behaviors, included but not limited to the restorative practices and the implementation of positive behavior and intervention systems for JWP. The positive behaviors, we do a little bit of that. It's not fully implemented, but we do a few things with it. But as far as principals, the actual principals getting into the classrooms, that's where we can see some major changes happening with our instruction, is having those principals in the classrooms, observing the teachers more and helping with that instructional coaching.
And that position has been posted?
Positions posted, and currently we have 7 submitted applicants.
Wow.
Yes?
How would the assistant principal interact with the MTSS program?
They'd be part of our MTSS
Would they lead it?
team.
Or who leads our MTSS program?
Right now, there's a group of us that work together on it, and we sit through all of our webinars. So, and we have help with our program through Dr. Morgan from South Central Service Cooperative, who is gonna be on board with us helping next year as we start to write our whole program handbook and all.
And that program's required?
It's required by the state. It's a
Okay.
5-year implementation program,
Okay.
so.
Any other questions?
And the READ Act, the people that were trained would continue to kind of be those leaders.
Yeah, the people that
were-
are trained doing
Yeah.
our in-house training for the READ Act will continue that next year also.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Moving on to the school resource officer update.
I'm gonna go back to the beginning. School resource officer information, or the update, is our current agreement requires a 60-day notice by either party to terminate the agreement between the city and the school. So due to financial reasons, the district entered in termination request in order to terminate the agreement or open negotiations for a new agreement. I've met with Clinton and Chief Johnson several times over the past couple weeks to discuss the school resource officer position. So some information for us is that the school resource officer revenue and expense. So the revenue we take in from the local taxpayers' levy dollars is anticipated to be about $20,492.28. That's based on enrollment, and our enrollment's declining just like it is statewide and nationwide. The expense, and this is from January or July 1st of last year through June 30th of this year, the expense is $86,485.92. So that's for our school year, 183 days. The JWP covers 70% of the salary and benefits, and the city covers 30%. So that 86,000 is our 70%.
So the revenue is specific to the school resource officer?
We're gonna get to that in a few minutes. This
Okay.
is safe school revenue,
Oh, okay.
so. Like I said, I've sat down and talked with Officer Johnson and Clinton Rogers, the city administrator, over the past couple weeks. So proposal from the city is that the city would charge JWP at a rate of the lowest paid officer employed. The city would assign an officer based on their need and the schedule. And what we discussed and came up with was their proposal is $20,000 per year to continue with a school resource officer at JWP 54 days of the school year. And if we wanted to have more days, 54 days is about a day and a half a week, approximately. It depends on how many weeks we have, and it varies year to year. Otherwise, it would be $40,000 per year to continue with the school resource officer for 108 days.
How does DARE fit into that? Is that those 1.5 days a week when she would do DARE? or-
Yes, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute.
All right.
So currently, the school resource officer's duties are school patrol coordinator, DARE instructor, Alice training facilitator, diversionary program, and that was piloted this spring, starting in the fall, and then general security of the building, watches cameras when needed. So this is now, then proposed, so if we were to do some work, or if we were to accept a contract or an agreement with the city for either 1 or 2 days a week, whichever, the school resource officer would still do school patrol coordinator, DARE instruction, facilitate the training for Alice, diversionary program that was piloted this spring and is starting next fall, and then when on site, would help with general security of the building, watches cameras when needed, but that would, if they're not on site, that would shift to the school administrators. Then, the potential elimination of the school resource officer position would be that school patrol coordinator would fall on the elementary principal, DARE instruction program would be eliminated, the Alice training facilitator would fall on myself and the director of buildings and grounds. The diversionary program, the county would not support the program if we do not have a school resource officer. And then the general security of the building, watching cameras when needed, will shift to the, totally to the administrative staff.
What's the diversionary
Yeah.
program?
Diversionary program is where a student that would maybe have committed a crime or done something here at school, there are different levels that we can do, rather than them having that crime against them on their record and everything. So it's setting up a plan with each student depending on the severity of their actions, so they don't have that going on their record in the future.
I think since we're talking about the school, the SRO, I think it's important for us to let you know that your ability or your performance in your job has never been in question. You do a very good job, and we know that.
Yes, Mr. Bourne?
Tell me if you're gonna cover this, but would we be able to contract for DARE? You know, you said that if we eliminated the SRO position, it would be eliminated. Would we be able to contract with someone specifically just to do that program?
I don't have that answer for sure.
Okay.
But that's something we could look into.
Okay, thank you.
This goes back to Laura's questions. This is the fund that we get money from for our levy program. So the levy limitations for safety-related services is $36 per adjusted pupil unit. So it's taxpayer levy dollars that we get. So there's a list of 10 things. It's on this slide and the slide continuing. So So it can go to help pay for peace officers and sheriffs in the school district. It can help pay for the cost of drug abuse prevention programs, gang resistance education training curriculum, security in the district schools and on school property, pay for the cost of other crime prevention, drug abuse, student and staff safety, voluntary opt-in suicide prevention tools, violence prevention measures taken by the school district, and then it can be used to help pay for licensed school counselors, licensed school nurses, licensed social workers, school psychologists, and licensed alcohol and chemical dependency counselors. Facility security enhancements, including laminated glass, public announcement systems, emergency communication devices, and equipment and facility modifications. Pay for the cost associated with improving the school climate, to pay the cost of collaborating with mental health professionals who are not district employees or contractors, and then help pay for cybersecurity measures to include updating computer hardware and software, other system upgrades, and cybersecurity insurance cost. So those are just some of the areas that we could use those funds also. Questions from the school board?
So Wendy, would we be at risk of losing any money if we do not have an SRO? I mean, from the list that Jeremy just went through, it sounds like we would be able to allocate towards things that we're already paying for if need be. And that we
Absolutely,
wouldn't
yep.
lose any funding.
Correct, we would not lose any funding. We would find another way to allocate those dollars, for sure.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for that. On to honor cords for graduation. And we have Principal Rysdam here with us.
Yeah, due to the weight of the discussions tonight, seems a bit ancillary. But it is something that, so Jeremy and I had discussions leading up to, I'm assuming, your last meeting, and then at the last meeting, it was decided that school cords would be limited to a certain specific groups. Earlier conversations with Mr. Erler were very frank, and they were open, they were honest. I honestly didn't think that this would be something that we would be dropping 9 days before graduation. These things have been bought. Some of them have been handed out. And I in no way disagree with your rationale. Your letter that you sent, Mr. Bourne, is, I have a hard time arguing with any of it, right? And I think in my correspondence, I said I have no issues enforcing any policy that you guys have, but it's not, we don't really have a policy, you know. And I'm here not so much to argue what your rationale is, but timing more than anything, right? And this is, and again, I know things get dropped. I'm guilty of it as anybody is. But when we talk about some of these people, officers in FCCLA, some of the officers in FFA that go above and beyond, some of these groups that have to have impeccable grades, otherwise they get dropped. They have to do public service. They're going above and beyond. I think there's arguments to be made, and again, maybe refuted, and that's fine. But I think it's a conversation worth having in support of the students, and also in support of making sure that there is a very clear understanding of what honor cord means. And so this is a way for me to start that conversation and that debate and just kind of see where it leads. So that's where I'm at with this. Do you guys have questions for me at all?
I don't disagree with, you know, it is kind of short notice. And we don't have a policy in place right now, so I guess it kind of is up to you guys what you want to do with
Right.
it. I guess I would just ask, I heard that the Marines also have honor cords that they give out. Some of these that are going into the Marines, or would you allow them as well?
That would bring me to the second part of this one, is that with the Marines, and even with Eagle Scouts, these are unaffiliated with the school. The school has no hand in them, and not that they're not worthy. I'm not saying that in the least bit. But if in your argument we're talking about how these kids aren't, like, this started in college, right? You got this color tassel if you went to this college, you graduated from the business school of whatever, right? Students aren't graduating from the business school of JWP, they're graduating from JWP, right? And so when we talk about these outside honors, and they are absolutely honors, they're not graduating from the Eagle Scouts, and they haven't even started the Marines yet, right?
Right.
And so I don't want to dishonor that idea or the effort and the work that goes into doing those things, but it just feels a little bit out of our lane as an educational institution. And that's just my personal thoughts on it, because if we open up that door, then you have the Marines and how many other hundreds of outside national organizations are there that
Right.
could, get a foot in the door as
Yeah.
well. And it's not affiliated with JWP directly. Indirectly, yes, we have students. Yes, we absolutely benefit from the leadership and the great work that they do and the service that they provide us. 100% we do. I won't argue that one bit. However, it's not directly affiliated with JWP as a school, as far as I know. And again, I'm starting the argument or the discussion, the conversation, because I'd like to understand.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a place that we're probably gonna have to put a policy in for this. We'll have to do our 3 writings and all that, but I think my point about like the Marines, we have to come up with something for this year too, unless you're gonna allow all those for this year at this point.
I want to have the conversation before I make the decision, but it's going to have to happen soon,
So, yeah.
I just see a lot of getting handed out for just participation.
I don't
I mean,
disagree with you.
that's-
And I've had this
that's not on a
conversation.
cord.
Yeah.
I just,
I had a staff meeting last Thursday where I brought up this very issue, and I understand, and like I said, I don't disagree with any of Mr. Bourne's ideas on this. I really, really don't. But I think it needs to be very, very clear, and it needs to have rationale, and it needs to have explanation, and it needs to have all of those things, because I sat in front of my staff and argued very much the same thing you guys did with very little. All of them even agreed, well, then we need to have a conversation, we need to have a meeting, we need to set clear guidelines in place, so it isn't just a participation thing. I was in this class for 4 years. I get a tassel. It has to mean more than that. It's an honor. It's not a, just I showed up type of thing. And so I don't think there's anybody on my staff that disagrees with that. I think what they would like to see, and what I would like to see, is if we are going to allow it, what's the threshold, right? Where do we have to get to? What type of area do we have to get in? Because when we look at some of the accomplishments of our students, if we set that bar, they're going to reach, That's the cool thing about it. If we set the bar and we put it out there, we're going to have students that step up. This year, more than any, we've noticed that. It's been a good year.
So as you talk to staff, what were the biggest arguments against implementing for this year?
Mostly it was it's past practice. We've done it in the past, and now all of a sudden it gets dropped 9 days before, and what's the rationale? And, a lot of it wasn't even so much hardline anger or anything like that. It's just, I wish I hadn't handed them out already. I wish I hadn't already told my students I could do this. I wish hindsight 2020 type of stuff. So, like I said, there isn't like full-throated anger or anything. It's just regret and frustration, and I get it. I totally get it. But I'd be more than willing to sit down in the next day or two with anybody to try to hash this out, because I don't mind presenting any message. I don't mind, I'm a big theory guy. If I understand the theory, I can get behind it, right? And I can sell it and I can rationalize it, but I just want to make sure that I have a very clear understanding of what the bar is going to be or what we do moving forward, you know? Are we going to have meetings on this? Are we going to? And it's becoming more prevalent everywhere, you know? Because just like us, we want to be able to honor our kids. We want to be able to show them off. We want to be able to display what's best, you know, about our school. So I get where their hearts are at. It's in exactly the right place. It's just, you know, we don't have any guidance up until recently, and that's what I think we need to get for it.
So you're probably extremely busy this week. So to be able to try and schedule anything like this between, you know,
Well, no.
by now and Friday.
I think,
I don't think you need to do that.
yeah.
I think what you're talking about is a time to discuss what
Right.
the future,
Yeah.
Policy.
you know, so I mean, it's, right now, it's really just are we gonna,
What are we doing right now? And that's
Yeah.
the conversation I would like to have. And I'll set aside, I mean, this could be after, anytime you guys,
Right.
you know what I mean? I'm fine with that. But I want to be able to go back and say, this is what we're doing this year, and going forward, this is what we're going to do. And by all means, everything's on the table. Because I have my own particular set of ideas on this stuff too, and I'd like to share that out, and we can come to some common ground. So an hour discussion should be all that we need, but as long as it's, you know, open, honest, fair, and then we have a pathway moving forward as to what it looks like, you know, I'm all for it.
Well, if it's gonna be a conversation with all of the board, we might as well do it now, because we're not gonna have another meeting between now and then.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's how we want to move forward, or, my thought is, yes, it is so close, and everybody's been handed out. In my thoughts is we move forward with what's been handed out, and then this summer work on that policy, and, you know, have those discussions to see if there's anything that we want to change for the upcoming years.
I agree with you, Sherry.
Because I would think that maybe part of that discussion in those committees, my thoughts is maybe have students on there.
100%.
Because I have gotten some student feedback about this, and they want it all. They want to show what their achievements were, not just academic, but what they did extracurricular on top of academics. So kind of get the buy-in from both.
I just feel like we can't wave a magic wand and say you can't do that this year. You know, I think without a policy in place, we're kind of.
And I totally get it, you know, I totally get, we are a school district, and we do concentrate on the academic portions. So just to display those, I understand that as well. But yeah, 5 days now before graduation, and a lot of them were handed out last week,
Right.
so. But that is my opinion, and so.
Well, and I agree, the board is here to enforce policy, and we have no policy, so I personally think it's up to you right now until I
Guys are
think
no help at all.
the question came to us, and we agree that it shouldn't be a participation thing, and so I do think it needs to be reviewed and a policy created, but.
She's raining.
Yeah, and whether it, you know, goes to the actual policy committee, or if you want separate committee, and then those on the policy committee can help write it as well.
What were you gonna say, Kevin?
well, I think if that's the decision that's made, all I would ask is that, you know, what each court is be clearly outlined in the program.
Okay.
You know, because as parents, as spectators, you sit there and go, what's that for? What's that for? What's that for? What's that for?
Okay.
And again, you know, I don't need to restate my argument, you know, I feel like I did so. I get the 9 days, you know, we were here talking about weighted grades where I was on the other side saying we need more time
Yep.
for it to be fair, so I can get on board with that. I can be flexible, but I would say, you know, we've got to outline what it is.
I agree.
Yeah, you know, because otherwise you really have a lot of confusion going, you know, what's what.
Right.
And again, we are an educational institution. That's why I said what I did, is just that focus to me. But yeah, I think a committee would be that committee that would weigh, you know, is it reached the level that is worthy of? That's why I thought it should be more than just one person.
Yep.
And of course, students should be on it. I think they should make a case for why they believe, you know, this or that warrants. But I think the bar should be set very high, and we should be very careful when we add those. But as you stated, we've had no policy in place before.
And I think this comes up almost every year.
I
It
don't know
has
if-
the last few years, but
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing like it
It's
has
gotten-
this year.
It's really exploded
Yeah.
this year.
But I'm
I've
not sure we
never
would have
seen it.
discussed it had Mr. Earler not brought it up.
No,
I mean, it wasn't on
didn't.
my agenda to talk about.
because we didn't really know that they were being, so many were asking to buy them this
Right.
year, so, yeah. But I think it's gonna be an all or nothing, like, I think you're probably gonna have to allow, like,
Well, I think there will be opportunities for pins.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
other
I
than
just
talking
mean
about
this
the
year,
show.
I'm
This
talking
year.
this year.
Oh.
I don't know if you can limit any of them to this year, since we don't have a policy.
Well, you certainly can. I mean, you could say that it has to be school-related.
Well, then that eliminates the, Eagle Scouts too, so, and they've always done it, so.
Has it been past practice? Has it?
Eagle Scout has been.
Okay.
Marines, military.
I don't know about them, but
Yeah, and
I've
that-
never, this is the first time hearing about the military ones.
And that's not academic, that's what they're choosing to do later.
Right.
right.
Agreed, I'm just,
Yeah.
again, it sounds like it's back to you, and I'm just saying, you can if you so choose. You know, there is no policy that gives you
Right.
flexibility both ways.
Right. Right.
Yep.
But I do think it needs to be outlined in the future, like
Yeah.
you said, because it is getting a
Absolutely.
little carried away.
No, like I said, it started off in colleges and it's
Yeah.
caught a trend and,
Yeah.
nope, absolutely. Yep.
So, I guess,
How's that for no answer?
Said, no help at all. I'll let you guys know where I'll go in tomorrow morning. I'll send you guys an email and kind of outline my thoughts and then go from there, but it's gotta be, like I said, sooner rather than later, so
What's your opinion, Ethan?
that's a great
From the
question.
student side, you can really see the argument for either, but you will get a lot more of a fight if you try to limit them. So just with the lack of policy, the lack of time, it would be difficult emotionally to do that.
You're talking about this year, not in
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
years.
Right.
This
What
year,
about the
yeah.
Future years,
Right.
I'm
I mean-
not talking about at all, just with,
Mhm.
because the students, we want to be recognized, but then on the opposite side of that, you want the recognition to mean something. So it really comes down to each student, each person. Just by like sheer numbers, there would be more people to fight for having the courts for each thing, just because they already have them, and it would just be tough to take them away from that. So I guess from the student side, that yeah, there would just be more people that would fight to keep them, which doesn't mean that it's the correct
Right.
thing, but
Right.
just by like, what would it be, utilitarianism?
Yep, you got that one.
Still remember that one. Mhm.
I guess as long as, they have them,
that
I
one.
mean,
That's so
you know,
true.
they got them.
Ah, yeah.
Ethan, what if this conversation had come up at the beginning of the school year?
At the beginning of the year?
How would you feel like if there were time to make those decisions then? Would you think it should be just academic?
Just
Or-
me personally, I'd want it to, I'd want a policy there, so you could just lay the line where it is, and I would want it to be more academic, because there are those banquets for the other things that recognize those achievements. And I guess it is more of a academic day, graduating from it. So if you were to ask me sooner, I would lean more towards more limiting it and being a little more stringent. Because also with what you guys said about setting the bar high, then people want to do more, to strive higher to get those. And then if there is that bar, like, and we set it really high, there's going to be students, and I know plenty of them, that would fight to achieve like really great things because they can and because they get recognized, because that goal is there to really fight for and almost, I wouldn't say distinguish yourself, but just show that you can do these things and you've achieved a lot. So that's my take on it.
Okay.
Good question.
Thanks, everyone.
He's got his thinking face on.
This is just my normal face. That's Jeremy, I'll tell you.
Well, I guess we left you with a lot to think about, so.
More questions than answers.
No, yeah, I'll figure it out.
I would just do what you're gonna do and wait for the policy to
Yep.
change.
Yeah, we're gonna support you no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
We will
Yep.
support you.
You guys have always been great, so.
Thank you for asking the question. I guess more than anything, that's what we appreciate, is your willingness to bring these things forward, even though it means that there could be some chaos and questions but again, once you make the decision, we'll be supporting you 110%.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else on that? Then we move on to the new business. So we have Miles here.
I'm gonna hand out a score to everyone here.
Okay, and if you want to grab a microphone.
It's music stuff, I have no clue.
I can do that for you if you like, Miles. I can hand them out for you.
You can pass them down too.
Thank you, sir.
And then you're not gonna, Miles, when you speak into the, yeah,
Do I need one?
yep,
Yes.
Okay.
yep. But you're not gonna hear yourself, because what it is allowing the people on the live stream to be able to hear what you're saying.
Sure. All right, so I'll start this off. As you all know, my name is Adam Hilly. I'm the director of bands here. I have been teaching here for 7 years. It has been a good time. Over the course of these 7 years, and actually this past year specifically, I started to look into if JWP had an alma mater. I could not find anything heads or tails, high or low, of anything that existed. For those of you that are unaware, an alma mater is generally a chorale-type piece performed at graduation year after year after year. Think Hail Minnesota, think Varsity from Wisconsin, UNLV's is Rebel Pride, I don't know, it was weird. Think of those type of things. JWP doesn't have one of those, and so Miles, being an up-and-coming composer and senior at JWP, I presented him with the idea of, what if you wrote something? I then brought it to Mr. Erler, and he said, absolutely, let's get this project started. Then when it's written, when it's performed, then we can present it to the board for potential adoption as the official alma mater of JWP, effectively stamping his name on the district for many, many years to come. He is also a future music educator going to school at North Dakota State University in the fall for instrumental music education. Any questions you have about the piece, he has been prepped for. If you want to ask him about the compositional process, how it looks, how it sounds, how he has actually created it to sound the same year after year after year, which is actually a pretty neat process. So, with that, now that I've explained everything, now I will turn your questions over to Mr. Miles.
Is the link in here, the actual
Yes.
song?
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
performance from the concert.
Yep.
So can we hear it?
Yeah, I'd love to hear
Is
it.
like,
Miles, that's cool that you're doing that.
Yep.
That's all right.
that where it is? Nope.
Was the arrow in the
You weren't
middle
able to
not-
just press
Probably
play
also
on there?
the 19
I was able to just, okay. Here.
Oh, I gotta turn them.
And you've got it all the way up.
And then on the video.
It's
there,
muted on
itself.
the video.
Yeah.
There we go.
We might get blown out of the room here with all the volume you turned up.
I think this is really great. Great job. Can you just explain how you did this? Because this
Like
is
the
amazing.
process of
Like,
writing it
yeah, just kind of give us like an overview of what you did.
I took about 5 tries at this because this spring sometime with February. Yeah, so this was about the 5th try, and what was really important to me, like he mentioned, was having it sound the same every year, especially in a small school where our ensemble is going to be different every year.
Yeah.
It was really important to me that we don't have problems instrumentally with this. That was a really big barrier to overcome with this, and then also not having it sound super overly stately was one thing that I didn't want to have. And I think it's very unique actually as a chorale if you listen to some of the other schools.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I wouldn't even know where to begin on something like this.
Right, yeah.
This
and
is-
I look
this
at
is-
this and go, huh?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is gibberish. No, good job.
Where'd the inspiration for it come from? Like, does that have local?
It was pretty hard to find something really to base it on. A lot of the stuff I write, I like to have a lot of symbolism in finding something here. What I actually ended up finding was in the every messenger email, that mission statement. That kind of resonated with me, and I don't know how clear that symbolism is in here, but I think it reflects a little bit through that same idea with how it's orchestrated. Every voice can be heard in this, I feel. Like the message statement.
Did you create words for this too, or is it just the music?
At some point, I would like to. This was all I have now.
Yeah, no, this is
Good job.
great. Great job.
And that's another thing that I really focused on with writing this, was having it so that it would adapt to a choir very easily. Because it's written almost in like different, like probably about 5 voices is how this would translate.
And you're gonna allow the next people to put words to it if need be?
Absolutely.
Miles, roughly how many seniors are you graduating this year in band?
11.
I was like, what? Looks like 7.
That is not our math teacher.
11. Nope. 11.
How will that impact as it's played next year? Just curious, you know, will there be adaptations that'll take place if the band is a little bit smaller?
I think it'll sound the same.
Okay.
Looking at who's leaving, we're losing a lot of really good players, but I think we're gaining a lot too.
Okay.
It might shift the balance a little bit, but I think overall everything will sound the same.
Which was the idea behind it.
Right.
You're gonna put it on the shoulders of the band director to make sure it does that every year, right?
That's a hard yes.
That's
It's a yes.
Can we put that in his contract?
Make sure alma mater sounds the same.
Right.
And if it doesn't,
I mean, I don't think it needs much help.
So it's Hilly.
That's right. That's right.
So when you say that it, you know, to make it sound the same, it means that you can take out some of these pieces and it not sound any different? Is
If
that kind of
we
what
were
you're
missing
saying?
An oboe part, which most years we are, it'll sound the same.
Okay.
You can take out pretty much any part in here, and
Okay,
it'll sound the same.
okay,
Except for the drums.
very cool.
Okay. Thank you, Miles.
Thank you.
So is this,
Yeah,
do we,
Do we need to move to
Somebody can
implement
make a
this?
motion if they'd like to.
okay,
I guess I'll make the motion to implement it.
okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations.
Wonderful, congratulations.
Good job, Miles.
quick question for you, Mr. Hilly.
Yes.
Who retains copyright?
Who retains copyright? Technically Miles. Yes, technically this is under, this is Miles Kruger original composition. If he were to license himself, technically this would fall under his copyright. This
So
is
do you
original.
think he'll license us a perpetual
I hope
and
so.
infinitely?
I hope so. Right. You have to give him the Snickers bar every year.
Because, you know, budgets are gonna be tightening.
That's right, that's
we
right.
can do
One
that.
Snickers bar per year.
I think we can afford that.
No, I said.
Gotta be a King Snickers?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, Miles.
Let's get a picture of you, Roxanne, with the score somewhere out there.
All righty. The 25-26 resolution for membership to the Minnesota State High School League.
This is something we have to do each year. We have to do this by June 30th. Submit a resolution that we still want to continue to be part or be a member school of the Minnesota High School League for activities.
I would make a motion to do so.
I'll second.
Motion by Kevin Bourne, second by Laura Size. And it's a resolution.
Dave,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Joni,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
and Sherry.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Approve summer hours, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 5 for the district office starting the week of June 2nd.
This is something we've been doing the last number of years where we work 4 10-hour days rather than 5 8-hour days. Works nice for the office staff, and then we just let our delivery people and others that may be here on Fridays know that we're not here on Fridays.
All right, any questions on that? Then do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Joni Olson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Laura Size. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Our upcoming meetings is June 2nd is a study session, which is going to include the curriculum and instruction presentation. June 16th is a regular meeting. July 21st is a regular meeting. August 4th is a study session with the finance and operations presentation. August 18th is a regular meeting. October 6th is a study. September 15th is a regular meeting. October 6th is a study session including curriculum and instruction. And then October 20th is a regular meeting. The rain threw me off. I missed a line there. So with that, we will adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Is this my last meeting with you guys?
It is.
Yeah, usually we do his last meeting gift certificates.
You're gonna miss
I mean,
it.
they could come in the summer if he wants.